What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for yet another Tottenham update for you guys, and where else but to start but that manager search once again. And let's start off with Julian Nagelsmann, as Gary Jacobs says that Spurs are looking for a young coach who plays progressive football, with Nagelsmann still the favoured option. The German has also had talks with Chelsea and would appear to prefer a move to Stamford Bridge. The Athletic are claiming that that they did a poll asking Tottenham fans to name who they would prefer, Nagelsmann or Pochettino. 48% of them saying Nagelsmann, 30.4% of them saying Pochettino, which is interesting enough, and other percentages going to other managers. And Ali Gold says that Nagelsmann will remain right up there unless Chelsea make a move or he delivers a firm no. So the door not completely slammed shut on Nagelsmann just yet.
Yeah, I mean, this is not, again, it's not coming from Nagelsmann, though, is it? Anything coming from Nagelsmann, the German side that we're hearing is like he's not convinced, he's not giving Tottenham any firm answer, he's going to wait till the summer. But anything from the Spurs side is like, we kind of really want him, he's our favourite option. Obviously we had Dan Kilpatrick saying we called our interest, but I don't believe that for a second. I believe he's our number one target, but I believe that because we haven't got that firm yes, and like that he hasn't jumped to the chance of joining us, of course we're going to have to explore other options, and by very nature going to have to call our interest in Nagelsmann to explore those other options. Yeah. So for me, I think from Tottenham's point of view, I think from Spurs' point of view, of course we want him. The fans want him. I think he suits what the management will want, the hierarchy. I think he's the perfect guy for what we need. But whether we can convince him, have to be seen. I think Chelsea is a weird one as well, because you'd have thought that would have also happened already if they were either convinced about him or if he really wanted to go there. Hasn't happened yet. Again, maybe it's just about him waiting until the summer. Yeah,
it seems that way. And, you know, there could be other jobs coming up. You know, we'll talk about the PSG job potentially coming up. I mean, Galtier seems in all sorts of trouble at the moment. So we'll see what rumbles on there. And moving on to the next manager we're going to talk about today, and that is Arne Slot of Feyenoord. Gary Jacobs says that Tottenham, West Ham and Crystal Palace are all keen on Arne Slot. And Alistair Gold says that Arne Slot will be a strong candidate despite claims in the Netherlands that he might be reluctant at this point to take his daughter out of school and move them to the UK.
Separating another manager from his family, it looks like. That's what we're trying to do. Seems to be a theme here. In terms of like the profile of manager, I think he's the kind of guy we need to be looking at, to be honest. Obviously, you got Poch and you got Nagelsmann, and these like elite guys. But as well, I do think you got the other tier down of managers who maybe they're not the biggest names, but you're getting them on their way up. You're getting them maybe when their stock is low because they haven't gotten that big job yet. And as much as look, Arne Slot, you'll never know until you give him the job whether he's going to be a success. I think the brand of football he plays, we can see what Ten Hag has brought to the Premier League, and maybe Arne Slot could do something similar. So I would definitely consider it if we can't get the names that we really want, like Poch and Nagelsmann. But I wouldn't completely be like unhappy at all if someone like him came in.
I mean, when you're looking at the jobs that he has done in the Dutch league, I mean, it's super impressive what he did with AZ Alkmaar and what he did with Feyenoord. It really is impressive. I mean, to get someone to win the league, and it looks like he's going to do that this season with a team that's not Ajax or PSV in the Dutch league is crazy.
Still in Europa League as well after winning after losing the final
Conference League, and he transformed AZ Alkmaar as well. And the only reason he got sacked there is because he was in talks with Feyenoord behind their backs. But look, no, it's super impressive, and I think if we were to go down that route, I think fans will be within their right to get excited about it. But I think as well, if he was to come in, I think it's one of those where you need to bide your time with it, and you need to give it the time that it needs, because it will need time. But I think he would be a really good appointment, to be honest, but one a bit outside the box. But we'll see how it plays out. It looks like he is quite high up on our list. But let's talk about Mauricio Pochettino, as Ali Gold says that Pochettino might not be the board's top choice, but the more the fans call for him, the more difficult it becomes to ignore bringing the Argentine home.
Yeah, and we're hearing the fans, aren't we? Every game. The last game against Brighton, the fans were singing for him when Stellini got sent off. We heard it after the AC Milan game. Some away games, we've been hearing it as well this season. So definitely the momentum seems to be building on that front from the fans' point of view. Definitely our games. And we know that the hierarchy, or especially Levy, is susceptible to reacting based on what he hears from the fans, definitely at games. And not to say that he'd always does a knee-jerk just based on what he hears, but he has done it before. Like, the fans have done things and then he's acted straight away, like firing Nuno and things like that when they're trying to Levy out. So he's definitely aware of all these things, for sure. And if it does get to a stage, let's say, throughout the whole season, like the whole stadium's constantly chanting for Pochettino, I think they will have to take notice of it at some point, as much as the whole hierarchy aren't convinced of him. So I think it's one of those, just keep your eye on, in all honesty, and it might be one where down the line, as much as right now it's not happening, down the line it could easily come to pass, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what's changed in the mentality in the board between when we tried to get him in back last time to now. I don't understand what really has changed. Maybe it's the
Paratici.
Paratici first of all, but what about the availability of Nagelsmann and people like that? Maybe that's changed it as well. But look, I think Pochettino would be a brilliant appointment once again. I'd love to see him back home, and we'll have to see how it rumbles on. But I think we're definitely going to be hearing more about Pochettino in the coming weeks, that's for sure. But moving on, let's talk about Ange Postecoglou. And Ali Gold says the arrival of Scott Munn might increase the noise around Celtic boss Ange Postecoglou, who grew up and coached in Australia. I mean, this is something we spoke about when we first heard of the arrival of Scott Munn, and it just makes sense, doesn't it?
Well, yeah, they're both Australian. They might know each other well. We could be putting 2 to 2 and getting 5. We don't really know, but he could be. It kind of makes sense in a way. He'll probably know about. I've been speaking to a few of my Australian friends. They all know about Postecoglou, and they all think he's brilliant, and think he'd be a brilliant appointment for Tottenham. Obviously, I don't know about his time in Australia. Obviously, he's doing very well at Celtic.
They all think Jamie McLaren is brilliant as well.
Exactly. For me, I would rather go for someone like an Arne Slot than Postecoglou. I do think it's less of a risk, considering I think the Dutch league is higher than the Scottish league in terms of quality. So to do it in that capacity would be more impressive. But again, Postecoglou, within his own right, has built a reputation for being a good coach, and maybe he's one where, again, we could be getting him on his way up, and we could be getting him before he blows up a bit. So he could be a smart appointment in a way.
Yeah, you just never know, do you, with managers coming out of Australia and managers out, especially out of Celtic.
Yeah, the problem is, with Scottish League, is it could go out any way, because you saw how Gerrard, didn't he go the whole season unbeaten with Rangers and then flops at Villa, but then Rodgers, I think won countless trophies for Celtic and then did really well at Leicester. So, although he's been sacked now, but he, overall did a very good job. So it's hard to know.
It is hard to know. And talking of Brendan Rodgers, let's talk about him next, as Ali Gold says that I don't think he's a top candidate at the moment. From what I understand, who knows how the search shakes up after those chaotic 76 days of 2021. But for now, I don't think he's a name near the top of the Tottenham list. And with the names being bandied about, it completely makes sense that Brendan Rodgers ain't at the top of our list.
Would you rather go for someone like a Slot or a Postecoglou who's maybe up and coming, or someone more proven than like Rodgers?
I think I'd probably prefer to roll the dice and go for maybe a Postecoglou or a who's the other name?
Slot.
Or Slot, yeah. I much prefer, maybe not much, but I actually kind of value the work that Brendan Rodgers has done a lot more than other people. I'm seeing other people being stay away, terrible manager. I actually think he's a really good coach, and I'd welcome him through the door, but he's just not probably in my top 4 or 5 on the list.
I just think we need someone who's going to bring new, fresh ideas and innovative ideas and progressive ideas. And as much as Rodgers is a good manager, I don't think he would provide that as much as maybe some of these other up-and-coming managers, especially Nagelsmann, but that's a different kettle of fish. But people like Slot and Postecoglou, I think they come with new, fresh ideas, maybe new, different ideas that the Premier League has seen before. And I think Rodgers, I don't know if he'll provide that. I don't know if his tactics, I don't know if they've gone stale, but I don't know if he comes in and gets us to overachieve like maybe they possibly could. And that's the reason I'll probably go with some of those kind of managers. But yeah, Rodgers is not a bad manager, but yeah, he would not be my first choice for sure.
Yeah. All right, let's go on and let's talk about Tanguy Ndombele, because we brought you a story yesterday that Ali Gold says there could be a potential of an obligation clause in his contract, but Ali Gold says no, Napoli do not have an obligation to sign Tanguy Ndombele when they qualify for the Champions League, so that's done.
Yeah. that obviously I wasn't surprised. I think we were surprised when we heard there potentially was a obligation, but it's no surprise now that they found out it definitely isn't one, because otherwise it definitely would have been activated. I think we would have heard about it before yesterday.
I do remember hearing like rumours about it when we signed him, but like I said on the update yesterday, actually we just haven't heard anything since then.
Yeah. So I guess it's a case of negotiating with Napoli whether they want to keep on or not, or another club. 26 million would be fantastic.
Most
I don't
likely
see
another club, to be honest.
I don't see 26 million being something that Napoli go for sure. If it's going to be, it's going to have to be a lot cheaper than that. But yeah, it doesn't surprise me that this obligation thing has been proven false.
Let's go back to Pochettino for a second, because we've got some quotes from Eric Lamela talking about Maurizio Pochettino. I found them quite interesting, and he says, I haven't spoken to Maurizio for a while, but I feel a huge appreciation for the years we spent together. It was a long time and we shared a lot of things. Maurizio was a very intelligent coach. He knew always how to lead the group in the best way. He loved working hard, improving, that sense of competition. He was always looking for every detail. He had lots of qualities, and that showed in the results that we had. I think the fans have a great affection for him because all the things that he did for the club during all the years he was there. He put the club at the top, both in England and in Europe, for many years. And at Tottenham, that shouldn't be underestimated at all. The fans enjoyed that. I hear they want him back. I understand it. Whether it will happen, I don't know. So very high words there spoken from Eric Lamela on Pochettino.
Yeah, definitely. And I agree with him when he said it shouldn't be underestimated, because we said it so many times when he was manager and maybe just after he was sacked, is that he normalised overachieving for Tottenham. That's what he did, and he got us consistently getting in that top four, and we took it for granted in a way. After like the fourth year of getting top four, you just start to take it for granted, don't you? And then all of a sudden, the years after that, Mourinho and Nuno and whatnot, you get to realise that actually it's not as easy as just simply just getting in the top four every year, because of you being holding those high standards every season. So I completely agree with Lamela. It shouldn't be underestimated how good of a job he's done to that, and that's why I completely disagree or think it's stupid whenever anyone says he's a failure or he's a loser, all these kind of rubbish things people throw at Pochettino, because I think he's done an amazing job, and we're seeing now what an amazing job he did. I can't wait. Can't wait to have him back. I would love him back. I would love him back. Honestly, I really would, and I think even if it's now, I think it would be a really good appointment.
Yeah, I think people need to remember like how much he actually did, what you say, like normalise overachieving, because it's like for us to get to a Champions League final, I mean, even for us to get Champions League and get into the top four like regularly was alien to us, complete alien.
Before Pochettino, we'd gone 22 years out finishing above Arsenal.
Yeah.
Remember that.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
exactly. So what an unbelievable job he did do at Tottenham. But we've got some more quotes, this time on Dane Scarlett from John Mousinho, who is the Portsmouth manager. And this is really interesting quotes from John Mousinho. And it says, Dane definitely has a future playing off one of the wings. He probably has been one of the victims of the shape change since I've come in and played one up top, with Colby taking the position to that position brilliantly. As a number 9, Dane has clearly had limited opportunities. And when he played on our side, it's been off the left, and he's affected games. He's scored that all-important goal against Burton, while came on against Bolton and made a real difference playing just behind Colby. Certainly, if he wants to play for Spurs in the next year or so, then it might be time to think about something other than playing as a number 9. That's where Dane's ambition should be. He should want to play for Spurs. I've actually watched him in Spurs' new stadium for Europa League game, and the modern centre-forward needs flexibility. One thing springs to mind is Marcus Rashford, how he was a centre-forward coming through the ranks. He's now reinvented himself as a player cutting in from the wide areas, and still with the ability to score. That's not a like-for-like comparison. They are all completely different players, but maybe that's something for Dane to think about. I know he wants to play as a number 9, but that flexibility, fitting into different formations and different sides, is going to be really important for him. And that's actually some good words of advice, isn't it, for Dane?
Definitely, and I think if you think about it now, I think what he's trying to say is if Scarlett wants to be a number 9, he has to be a lot more physical than he is. And right now, how he is, he's going to be much more comfortable off the left because of his lack of physicality. And when you really think about it, yeah, like people like Rashford were good strikers coming through the ranks, but that kind of striker who's just uses pace to get in behind, they're kind of coming a little bit, and that being successful in the modern game, and as opposed to being out wide, you think of all the top strikers, especially in the Premier League, but even in European football, and they're all very physical. All the top number 9s: Haaland, Kane, Tony, Watkins,
unless you play with like
Lewandowski,
a false number 9 and they drop deep, and you can play that way.
But even that's you still need, but you need a different skill set than just being like a pacey finisher. That maybe I don't know if that's what Scarlett is, but that's why Rashford has gone out wide, because he can play in that role in the number 9.
Like the Jermaine Defoe kind of type strikers kind of vanished out the game a little bit.
Yeah, I think
the poacher.
People want their strikers to be kind of all-rounders, very physical, decent, good strength, able to hold off defenders, but also having a bit of pace to be that threat in behind. But more so, you have to have that bit about you, or you have to be really good at coming short and having the ball to feet like Kane is. But you have to have that strength to hold off defenders, and that's why Rashford, unless he's playing like Man City, where he has all that space to run into, or Liverpool, he has to go out wide because that's where the space is, and that's where he can be effective. Because when he plays at number 9 against a low block, he just gets completely dominated by the defenders and he can't get involved in the game. That's the reality, and that's why all the top strikers now are all very physical, all very, very strong, as opposed to maybe a few years ago, maybe like 5 to 10 years ago, it wasn't necessarily like that. But as the game has changed and all these top teams are playing against low blocks, you need those physical strikers.
And maybe like a player to kind of back up what you're saying is Evan Ferguson, 18 years old, big, strong, physical striker, making a name for himself in the Premier League already.
And just look at the difference in the physicality of him and Dane.
Yeah.
So that's why Dane is probably in the short term. In the short term, he's going to have to do it. It's not to say, look, the guy's 18. It's not to say maybe in 5 years' time the guy could hit the gym a lot and become really strong. Like Kane wasn't the most physical player at that age as well. So not to say that he can't develop that, but I think right now, the best place for him probably is out wide, and especially I can't see him making impact in the short term up front in the Premier League. It's not going to happen because he's going to get totally dominated.
Yeah, it's absolutely spot on, and it'll be interesting to see if he can get more game time with maybe it be Spurs or a higher up level than Portsmouth. I mean, would you say his Portsmouth loan spell has gone maybe the way he would have thought, or has it been a success?
I mean, the guy's 18, so obviously as much as we want him to go there and just kill it and score every game and have bag 30 goals. Yeah, I know. So I for one would say it's a success. I think the fact that he's getting praise from his coaches a lot consistently, his low performance seems to be good. He's getting consistent game time. It's only going to help him move along as a player. So I do think he's not sitting on the bench every week, albeit maybe he could have played more, but he's not sitting on the bench every week. He's playing pretty consistently, so you have to put that down as a success. But if you're thinking of him as a potential star boy and a future star, a lot of people maybe will think of it and think, he should be getting 10 goals, 15 goals at that, but he's still very young, so I think this has been a success.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see for the development, to see him play out wide a bit more, but he has been deployed there quite a few times by Portsmouth this season. The
question is because he spent so much of his career as a number 9, like being successful in the youth, it's going to take some adjusting to become a different level of player on out wide, so he's going to have to adjust to it, but hopefully he can do it.
Yeah, let's hope so. But let's move on and let's talk about this England and Ireland Euro 28 bid that's gone in today. Ali Gold says that the UK and Ireland's final bid to host Euro 2028 has been submitted, with the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium included as one of the 10 shortlisted venues. The other shortlisted venues are Wembley, Cardiff, City of Manchester, Everton's new unbuilt stadium, St James's Park, Aston Villa, Hampden Park, Aviva Stadium, the unbuilt stadium in Belfast as well, Casement Park, and Old Trafford, which is the highest capacity in England after Wembley, the Stadium Light, London Stadium and Dublin's Croke Park have all been dropped from the list, and Turkey is the only other candidate to host the tournament. So surely we got to win that.
Yeah, I'd love to have a tournament back in England. That'd be great. And to be at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium as well would be fantastic. I think, obviously, when they're doing a bid, they have to get the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium in there because it's the most modern stadium out there right now. It's a stadium that is one of the best in Europe, so it has to be at the forefront. And when it comes to Old Trafford, unfortunately, as much as it's a massive stadium capacity-wise, it's just not great facility-wise, and it's just it's just an old decrepit stadium, a bit like the San Siro. It's just not very nice to go to, essentially, and it's not like the best for for getting drinks and food and things like that, and the facilities, they're just not very nice. So I understand why it's been dropped.
It's mad to think about it because, like, if you're a fan of English football from maybe outside of England, and you ask like, oh, what are the best stadiums in England? You'll be like Old Trafford, Anfield, maybe even the Emirates. You might even say, but none of these stadiums being picked.
I think they've taken it over the facilities and how nice they are.
Yeah, especially the Emirates is a fairly new stadium.
Yeah, 2006. Yeah, interesting.
But anyway, let's talk about some potential Spurs signings for the last bit of the update. 90 Min are claiming that Tottenham have been closely watching Sporting's Pedro Goncalves over the past few months. I was reading the article and they said that that Goncalves really caught their eye when they were actually doing deep scouting on Pedro Porro, and he's had a sensational couple of seasons for Sporting. Pedro Goncalves, it was him that scored against Arsenal from a halfway line as well. We know we love a player that scores against Arsenal from the halfway line.
Sign him up.
Do you think he fits the mould of what we're looking for?
I really like him. I really like the look of him. He's a versatile player as well. I think he's really coming into his own over the last couple of seasons. He's 22 years old?
I think he's 24.
24. From what I've seen, I was definitely watching him closely against Arsenal. And I think against us, he actually had some quiet games, but against Arsenal, he was really good. I think his goal contributions have gone through the roof this season, it seems. And I think he's quite a versatile player as well. So for sure, I would take a big look at him.
In his 3 seasons for Sporting, he got 23 goals in 32 games in his first season there. That's amazing. And then his next season got 8 goals in 27, and this year he's on 12 goals and 25. But I believe this season is where the assists have
a lot of assists, I believe,
gone through the roof. Yeah. So I mean, Pedro Goncalves, it would be a great signing. I think that Sporting Lisbon just have like a conveyor belt of talent, don't they? So I think anyone that you can get from there, you're probably standing yourself in good stead. So I would say bring him in. And next up, we've got Georgi Mamashvili Romano saying that Tottenham are one of the clubs being informed of the conditions of goalkeeper Georgi Mamashvili, as well as Chelsea.
Yeah, and we spoke around before. He seems like a keeper who's definitely up and coming right now. He's quite young.
Georgian Donnarumma.
Yeah, he looks a very exciting prospect. So I'm happy that, clearly Spurs are very much looking for that next goalkeeper for the next 10 years. And if they believe he can fit the bill, I think he could be worth a lot of money to Spurs, because all of a sudden you get that keeper for at least another 10 years and probably more. So I would say if they're convinced to do it about him, get him in.
Absolutely. So that is your Tottenham update for today. Let me know in the comment section below if you have any thoughts regarding any of the news stories we've brought to you today. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always,
come on you Spurs.